This is the one thing in life I wish you to learn from me and say later, quote, my daddy taught me one thing, that fear and worry are really similar, and that there are lots and lots of internet passages about overcoming fear. And I've read a lot of them. Our fears can be divided into two categories, innate and learned. Innate fear requires no prior life experience. Though there's some debate as to which fears are truly instinctive, some studies suggest that we are born with only two innate fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds, while others suggest we might also be born with an innate fear of creatures like spiders and snakes. Learned fears are those we obtain through direct experience of a threat or through social means, such as verbal warnings or observing others. Maybe we gave you some of those fears. We don't have an innate fear of dogs, but if a child's bitten by a dog, they may carry that learned fear for years and years, if not forever. And while most of us have never had a fearful encounter with a shark, and possibly haven't ever even seen one, we often grow up thinking that sharks are dangerous because that's what people say or because we watch on Jaws. Fear itself isn't really a bad thing. Fear is a survival mechanism and has helped us as humans be safe since we first walked the earth. It's part of evolution. Fight or flight is better than doing nothing, and far better than paralysis for sure in dangerous situations. At the same time, however, fear can hold us back. It can stop us from achieving our goals. Sometimes it's a barrier to happiness. When that happens, we must try to overcome our fears and find courage. It may not be easy, but help is on hand. Over the centuries, many famous figures have given us their sage advice about how to conquer the fears that stand in our way. Here's just a few. Fear is the main source of superstition and one of the main sources of cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. Bertrand Russell. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of that pain. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Lucio in William Shakespeare's Measure for Measure. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. Dale Carnegie. Courage is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Except a creature be part coward, it is not a compliment to say it is brave. It is merely a loose misapplication of the word. Mark Twain. That's a good one. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of it. Except a creature be part coward, it is not a compliment to say it is brave. It is merely a loose misapplication of the word. That's Mark Twain again. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Marie Curie. I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Having a plan, that's me adding that in there. That's the deal. Have a plan. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. Never let the fear of striking out get in your way. Babe Ruth. Expose yourself to the deepest fear. After that, fear has no power, and fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes. You are free. Jim Morrison. The Doors. Don't fear failure. Not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. Bruce Lee. Each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go for the rest of our lives, to experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. Judy Blume. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Heard that before? The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Nelson Mandela. What we need to say is, what's the smallest, tiniest thing that I can master? And what's the scariest thing I can do in front of the smallest number of people that can teach me how to dance with the fear? Once we get good at that, we just realize that it's not even fatal. We'll live through it. Seth Godin. Are you paralyzed by fear? That's a good sign. Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. Remember our rule of thumb. The more scared we are of working or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. Stephen Pressfield. And lastly, the scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things can only get better. Stephen King.